Oh, Beth, I'm so excited for you. You were honored on Sunday at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History by receiving a Rydell Fellowship. And then this award is a big cash prize for you to be able to do whatever you want to do with. And it is not something you can apply for. It is an honor. It is a nomination, and then you're chosen for it. And I congratulate you for this. And I'm so proud of my community to be supporting you the way they should be.
Well, it was absolutely thrilling, Nada. I mean, it just was an amazing experience. And I'll have to send a shout out to my partner, Annie Sprinkle, because all of the work I've done in the last 12 years has been in complete collaboration with her. And I just love working with her. I love the way we work together. And so really this prize was a prize that was gotten in collaboration with Annie. And I just also want to say that, you know, they didn't let me give a speech because we don't have to wait for a couple of years to give our speech, the new awardees. But I just wanted to say, in addition to thanking Annie, I really want to thank the Harrisons, because meeting them and getting to know their work better and really thinking with them through some problems has really turned us on to the pathway in our work that we've been taking since 2008 when we married the earth. We became ecosexuals, and we've really dedicated our work and our lives to making work about environmentalism, and the Harrisons were really critical in that. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank the school has been very supportive of the work that I've done.
You're talking about UCSC?
UCSC, absolutely.
Because this is where you teach. You teach in the art department.
Well, not only do I teach here, but I have colleagues here that I think with, and also my students have influenced me. I mean, this was really and truly a community grant, and I was very, very fortunate to be the person named to be receiving these funds.
Well, you're a community artist.
Yes, I am, and I love my communities. I love all of my communities, and I have several different communities that I navigate within and between, and I'm very lucky to be surrounded by people who support me and whom I support also.
I just want to make a shout out to the two other winners of this year's Rydell Visual Arts Fund Fellowship. That's Jim Denevan, and Jody Alexander is for next year. I didn't quite understand. It's a little bit different with her, but it's Jim Denevan, Jody Alexander, and Beth Stevens were announced this year's winners of the Rydell Visual Arts Fund. You will be in a installation exhibition at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History, and right now there is an exhibition of our previous Rydell winners, and last year's winners were Ian Everard and Rocky Lewicki, both extraordinary artists, Ian in video and Rocky in sculpture. And then there's several other artists that are in the current exhibition at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History.
Well, Encyclopedia Pictura is one group that's there, and man, their work is just phenomenal.
And then I also wanted to just give a little bit of a background. When you mentioned the Harrisons, you were talking about the Harrison Studios. That's Helen and Newton Harrison, who have been eco-artists since the late 60s, working in collaboration and partnership with each other, husband and wife, as well as devoting all of their work to helping Mother Earth.
That's exactly who I'm talking about.
That's right. And they are phenomenal, and here also at UCSC, having done an incredible career at UC San Diego and helping put together the art department there, and they're phenomenal artists, and we are blessed to have them in our community. And I feel like you introduced me to them as well, and I want to thank you, Beth, because you had them in your class.
Well, I actually hired Newton Harrison as to consult with me on creating a graduate program in the art department, and that's changed a little bit. You know, we're doing a graduate program that's more broadly focused, but I really got to work with Newton a lot, and with Helen also, and it was just really an honor, and it was it was intellectually very stimulating for me.
And so I want to just talk about a little bit about your art practice, and it's varied, multimedia. You work in sculpture, you work in installation. You're also a conceptual artist. And most recently, a videographer. You just finished your first movie. Congratulations again, because you won the Spirit Award at the Santa Cruz Film Festival this year, which is also just announced.
I know, we're really on a roll right now. I just found out today that the film is going to be in a wonderful conference called Anthropocene Feminisms in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and that a woman who I don't know who it is, right, has written a paper about the work that Annie and I are doing in ecosexuality, and she will present that paper, and the film will show at the same time. I mean, it's just very exciting. It's gotten into the Appalachian Studies Association conference. It's going to be in Dimensions of Political Ecology in Lexington, Kentucky. That film is really taking on a life of its own. Last month...
Wait, let's just give the title.
Oh, the film is called Goodbye Gauley, Gauley Mountain. And
as in the Gauls.
As in the Gauls, the French. And we just released our DVD. So if you want a DVD, just go to goodbygauleymountain.org and you can, get a DVD.
That's right.
Yeah.
And tell us, what is Goodbye Gauley Mountain about?
Well, Goodbye Gauley Mountain is an autobiographical film that includes the performance art that Annie and I do, and the story of my own growing up in West Virginia. And it looks at the anti-mountaintop removal movement, which just last week there was another industrial disaster where there was a horrible chemical spill into the Elk River in Charleston, West Virginia, about a quarter of a mile from where I went to grade school. And that chemical spill has created a situation for 300,000 households, not people, but households, across 9 counties, including the capital city of West Virginia, where the water is, it cannot be used for drinking, it can't be used for bathing, and it can't even be used for washing clothes. It's a real disaster. And people actually need help. They need water. And so, I'm just going to put out a plug for a couple of places there that are distributing water. One of those is the nonprofit organization called Keepers of the Mountains. And then the other one is the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition, OVEC, O-V-E-C for short. And my family is in the middle of this entire catastrophe, and it's both heartbreaking and infuriating that these kinds of not only are they blowing the mountains up, but this chemical that went into the Elk River, which has no hazmat standards attached to it, they don't know what this chemical does because it is completely unregulated. That's the chemical that's used to clean coal after the coal is mined, and it goes through the cleaning process. And so the only reason that we're hearing about this is because it has completely turned the water off in the capital city of West Virginia, so that the legislators are having to deal with this situation. But this chemical is stored in slurry ponds throughout the state. It's been re-injected into the deep mines of West Virginia. And so it really inhabits the groundwater there that's in the more rural areas. And so this is a huge problem that really needs to be addressed. It needs to be recognized, addressed, and regulated. And so I'm just raising awareness about this right now. It's a real tragedy. And, we think West Virginia is really far away. Well, fracking is coming into our backyard, and it is the same situation where toxic chemicals are being injected into our land, and fracking is going to affect our drinking water, or the water that will be used in agricultural areas here. So it's a really serious problem, and I hope that the listeners of this program will stand up and do something about it.
This is so tragic. My heart bleeds for your family. And when something like this happens to our family that's not here in California, that's in a distant place, it's a little less hard for the average person. You're just reading it in the newspaper. But it's hard to imagine every time you turn on the faucet that what's coming out is poison, and that you can't let your kids near it, and you can't wash your clothes in it. You can't do anything with it. It is poisoned. And that many of the same, let's say, the injections into the water system that is being done with mountaintop removal is similar to what's happening with fracking.
Well, it is. It's really a privileging of industrial profit over the health and welfare of the planet and the people and the animals and the plants that live on this planet. And I was just listening to Diane Ream's show about geoengineering as I was driving over here, where scientists are going to, start taking very serious steps towards changing the climate of the whole planet in order to slow down global warming and climate change. And just the fact that we are at this point now, but the fact that, aerosol particles are going to be, injected into the clouds so that there's a dimming effect of the Earth, so not so much sun comes through, our atmosphere, is terrifying to me. And we could start shifting the situation now. And Goodbye Gauley Mountain, an ecosexual love story, shows some new horizons that could help us in this shift. And one of those horizons is changing the metaphor from Earth as mother to Earth as lover in order to begin thinking about our planet in a more mutual and loving way, because we only have one planet. And, part of the work that Annie and I have done over the last we've been working together since 2002. But during that time, we did a series of weddings. And in 2008, here at UC Santa Cruz, during the Interventionist Festival, we married the Earth. And part of the work that we have done has bridged the gay wedding controversy with environmental work, right, in the package of this new sexuality called ecosexuality. But I say in my film, you can live without being married, but you cannot live without water. And this is a message that is woven throughout this movie. And again, if you want to see the film, it's at goodbygauleymountain.org, and that's Gauley.
Yeah, and it'll be on my website. And then you have, what is the current website that you and Annie are doing? You've had the
loveartlab.org. That's our old site. Our current site is sexecology.org, and that's where sex and ecology come together to form a new field of research.
Okay, Beth, really quickly, you're an artist. Mm-hmm. What the heck are you talking about mountaintop removal? Like, how is that an artist form? I mean, usually aren't you a painter or something? Or
That's a great question. My colleague Jennifer Gonzalez came to my house one day, and we were talking to my carpenter Bob, and he was asking this very same question. And Jennifer Gonzalez came up with such a beautiful answer. She said, Beth, I think art is something that changes the way people see the world. And I am very much in alignment with that. Art is something that it does. It changes the way that you see the world. And, we all see the world in many, many different ways. And we all have the things that we love. And we all have the issues that we believe in. And so I believe that art can help explain things. It can help. Art's really part of a conversation. I don't think that it's necessarily a literal instrumental tool that tells you how to think, but it gives people options in ways that they can engage the world, in ways that they can express their feelings about the things that they love. And this film, Goodbye Gauley Mountain, an ecosexual love story, is my love song to West Virginia, this place that is so maligned and so marginalized in the imagination of our country. People cannot make enough jokes about incest and illiteracy and dirty hillbillies at the expense of West Virginia. I mean, that is just a standard cadre of jokes. And I can tell you, with this water thing that has happened, we are all going to be West Virginians pretty soon if we don't wake up and start telling our legislators that we want chemicals regulated. We want the environment regulated. We want to have a future for our children and for this earth. And it is very serious. And if, I really don't, I'm not interested in making art about anything else except to support the health and welfare of my lover, the earth.
Hallelujah. Beth Stevens. Go, girl, go. How much more can I support you? But I want you to just give us a little bit more about ecosexuality. I love the idea, but I need a little bit more. So you're talking about changing the metaphor from treating the world like a mother and treating the earth, the world, as a lover. What's the difference?
Well, Nada, you're a mother. And I've not heard you complain about your children per se, but I know that you worry about your children and you do your children's laundry and you make sure that your children have enough to eat and that they get to go to the right schools and that they're happy, right?
Yes.
And we expect that from our mother. If the mother does not make us happy, then she's a bad mother, and there are a lot of bad mommy stories out there, okay? And what Annie and I feel in the development of this field of ecosexuality is that the mother is tired. She's tired. She's depleted. She's tired of us extracting milk or coal or gas or whatever we're extracting at any given moment. And so we feel that if we could change the metaphor from mother to lover, that people might be able to open up a new space in their imagination and use that space to change their behavior and to engage in a more mutual and loving relationship with the earth.
Oh, I love it.
In fact, there are two students that are at the Education for Sustainable Living program.
And where is that program?
ESLP. That's a student-run program.
Here at UCSC?
Is here at UCSC. It's a fantastic program. And two students, Hannah Ryder and Jamie Epstein, are going to give the first UCSC course. It's called Ecosexuality, Queering the Path to Sustainability. And they're going to be teaching that course this spring quarter. It's a two unit course. And I swear if I weren't on sabbatical, I would take that course myself.
Queering to Sustainability.
No, Ecosexuality, Queering the Path to Sustainability.
Queering the Path to Sustainability.
Isn't that fabulous?
Can you just tell us what do they mean by that? I have a feeling, but could you?
Well, this issue of sustainability, I was listening, I said I was listening to the Diane Rehm show, and she had a man on who was a philosopher, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but she says, in her Diane Rehm way, she says, how come a philosopher is involved in this climate change thing? And he answered her, he said, Diane, this is not just a scientific phenomena now. This is a cultural phenomena. Climate change is changing everything we know. And all fields of knowledge need to engage in this. And so what Annie and I have found, we've been part of quite a bit of environmental activism. And what we've found is that the people who are we love activists. We want to support activists as much as we possibly can. But there hasn't been a whole lot of room for queers in the activist movement, in the environmental activist movement. And we know the successes that queers have had in, gaining equality for same-sex marriage, for instance, which, problematic as that may be. The gay and lesbian movement and the GLBT and the intersex people, they're doing that, It's
happening.
It is happening in Utah.
Across the U.S.
They're trying to take it away, but the federal government is going to recognize, even the non-weddings in Utah as weddings in the United States. So, queers are fun. The really great thing about queers is that they're fun, they're irreverent, and they don't necessarily follow the straight line. And so I think that the path to sustainability has been a little straight. And these two wonderful students are going to make it a little crooked, in the best of the queer fashion.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Beth Stevens, Professor Beth Stevens, here talking about the many wonderful things happening in her life, except for the terribleness that's happening in West Virginia. But the recent award of the Rydell Visual Arts Fellowship for 2014, as well as the Spirit Award from the Santa Cruz Film Festival, where I had the privilege to see the movie Goodbye Gauley Mountain, is now available on DVD. Beth, the thing that I love the most about your movie and your approach to environmentalism is this ecosexuality opens up the place for play. Your movie made me laugh and cry. It made me hopeful and pissed off. It made me, honestly, I feel, it upset me greatly, and as a non-commercial educational radio station, KZSC supports free expression of ideas. Please be aware that the opinions expressed are those of the speakers or artists only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the UC Region's KZSC staff, management, or underwriters. We welcome your feedback on our programming. Please direct your comments to the Program Review Committee by calling 831-459-4726 or emailing prc@kzsc.org. Your movie is fun, and environmental activist movies as a whole are generally depressing and just, cut out my heart now. Your movie had fun in it, and I feel like that's one of the beautiful things about bringing ecosexuality to the environmental movement.
Well, I've been very inspired by the earth. I mean, I love nothing better than going skinny dipping. It's just a wonderful thing, and it breaks my heart to think that I will probably never be able to go skinny dipping in the rivers of West Virginia again after this chemical disaster. I think people have taken great hope in the earth. I mean, many philosophical descriptions of hope take place on the Martin Luther King's speech, he went to the top of a mountain, right? We go to the rivers, we go to the ocean to meditate. We need these vistas. We need these vistas in order to be able to see into the future, in order to be able to find a place to think about the problems that we have to navigate and the problems that we have to embrace in order to make a better place for all of us. And these places, the metaphors that people talk about where they find inspiration, are often metaphors of nature. And as I think about people losing touch with that nature and forgetting what the source of these metaphors are, I think of a real impoverishment in terms of our imagination for giving us hope. And so I really am dedicated to keeping those spaces in my art, and not as a stereotypical cliche of something, but as a real place to think from and to hope from and to love from and to change from.
Beth Stevens, you are an inspiration, and I'm going to leave that wonderful moment that you just gave us now to have to say goodbye to Artist on Art, and to please stay tuned for Otherworldliness. Beth Stevens, I wish you the best moving forward.
Oh, Nada, thank you so much.
If you missed any part of this show, don't worry, it'll be on Artist on Art. I want to thank Vanya Benavides and VAB Media for live tweeting as we speak.